the river, that's our issue. It flooded in 2008. It's been an issue for a long time, since 2008. The governor, Mitch Daniels, has made it a 5-person commission. You're the head of that. And quite frankly, by just about everybody's observations, you guys have done a real good job at getting the river finished or close to finished, and at maintaining it with what funds you guys do have. The issue going forward is how the river maintenance is going to be funded going forward.
True. I mean, it's a $250 million man-made asset, and just like any other man-made structure, it needs to be maintained. And, unfortunately, there's segments that have been around for 25, 30 years that haven't seen any maintenance. So, I've been listening on some of the radio programs, and it has to do with taking care of some of the things that have been neglected or deferred, which means it hasn't happened. So a lot of those things need to be addressed, and it isn't just moving, trees and beavers from the thing. There's a lot of pump stations, there's a lot of concrete, there's a lot of mechanical parts that need to be maintained, because when you need it, they better work, or we're looking at some other challenges.
All right, so let's go forward. Right now, you guys have taken what money was available, and Dan Repay has been doing a good job at directing that the work gets done. I think a lot of people feel safer than they did, especially right after the floods and so forth. Now there is the issue: trees fall, beaver dams, moles get in there, just the river turns, all sorts of things. They all have to be done. Millions of dollars a year, which are calculated, is probably about right.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you an example, I called Bill between Christmas and New Year's, and a person walking on the trail noticed a dam. It was basically a blockage that occurred, and you drive this trail, and people in Hammond, Munster are on this trail a lot, between Northcott and Indianapolis Boulevard, about 50 yards to the east of where Hartstitch comes into the Little Calumet River. Some trees have fallen, some debris. Bill makes the example all the time. There's mattresses. Well, I mean, I could tell you that in this blockage, there's everything that you could probably want in a blockage. The challenge is
shopping cart.
Yes, there's a shopping cart.
It's always,
unfortunately, chairs. Unfortunately, there's actually a
shopping carts. Why are there so many shopping carts in the world?
The problem is we can't get to it, and you know that area pretty well because you drive your bike on it. So we're trying to work on something to get in there to be able to get the equipment to move the stuff out, and that's our challenge. And thankfully, it's going to be cold so that the ground will be frozen so we can get the equipment in there.
No, hold on a second. I don't understand that. How can you not get to it? You mean there's no access point?
No, there's no access points. I mean, there are some access points, but from the perspective of trying to get in and get equipment in that's necessary to move in these large trees and get into some of these areas where we need to get to the concrete, there's no access designed into that original plant. So when these things were done, decades ago, evidently somebody really wasn't taking into consideration that at some point we're going to have to do some maintenance in there, and how do you get the equipment into these points to try to get that stuff taken care of? It's very frustrating. There's a lot of things that just don't make any sense, and that's one of the reasons that I got involved, is that I'm like, how can this be to the point where you have a $250 million project and there's not places along the river to get equipment in to do the maintenance work that's necessary to take care of this man-made structure?
He's Bill Baker. He is the president of the Little Calumet. Is that right, president?
I think it's chairman.
Chairman.
He likes chairman better.
Chairman of the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission. He is Dan Repay. He's the executive director of said commission. If you want to talk to them right now, 219-845-1100. Let's move forward. The reason it's so important that at 1:30 our time tomorrow, that they 12:30 our time. I'm sorry, 12:30 our time. The legislature is called a session tomorrow, and one of the things they're going to consider is how to fund maintenance of the Little Calumet River. Okay. Hammond Maritime McDermott and Representative Ed Soliday, who had been at huge odds before, have now come together with a plan to create a 9-person board and a roughly 15-person advisory board, and tag everybody in the little well, not everybody, everybody west of I-65 with about a $45 a year fee. For businesses, it'll be more. Commercial and industrial clients, it will be more, and everybody will have to pay. They'll come up with, I don't know, 5.5 mil, 6 million, something like that. And that will be used to maintain the Little Calumet River. Now, that's one plan. McDermott calling it a compromise. Obviously, he and I had some words that were terse the last time that came up. I'm sure we'll have terse words in the future again. But it is a huge change of events, change of the course, in that, first of all, that mayor got involved again. He'd walked here and said he was washing his hands of the Little Cal. He's gotten involved, and that he and Ed Soliday, who both actually exchanged deep criticisms of each other on these airwaves, have now come together in a compromise plan. And that is getting a long look from a lot of people. And I got to say that even my own personal opinion is that I think it's shared by a lot of people that, you know what, I really don't care how this gets funded and how it gets done. It just has to get done. Do you guys agree with that's the general opinion?
Without a doubt. I mean, I think, anybody that's been listening for the last, 3 years when I've been on the air, that's been the number one priority, is to try to get funding for the operation and maintenance of the river. The way I personally look at it is I'm part of the team trying to take care of this regional asset. And, I tend to focus more on the results as far as what happens along the system. The folks that are in the state house are the ones that are going to be working on the funding mechanism. How that shakes out, I learned last session that just because I like something going down personally doesn't mean that's how it's going to shake out as it relates to once it gets into the political realm down there. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. The Little Cal is politicized because of the fact you're using taxpayer dollars, and it's just intrinsic that you get politics when taxpayer dollars are involved. So be that as it may, will whatever shake out be perfect? Will I just be, gosh, we got everything? No, we're going to have to be somewhat open-minded. There's some things that probably aren't going to work out as it relates to, do I want to pay? No, I don't want to pay, but how come it hasn't been taken care of already? So something has to happen. Seeing what it did for the region from an economic development perspective, we need to take care of it. And how that shakes out over the course of this session with all the other things that are on the floor down there, my storyline has been, this is going to be some great reality TV. I mean, just with the show you had before, what's going on with Calumet Township and Griffith, land-based casino, the river. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on down there. It's going to make for a very interesting TV show, to say the least.